Just the committee now.
Yeah, just the committee,
Yeah.
the committee. Tab I, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, appointing board of trustee members to the Museum of Contemporary Art, Inc., in accordance with Chapter 2, Article 3 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Staff.
Yeah, I have a short presentation by Babacar Mbong, Director for Mocha Museum.
Yeah, good evening, council members. Babacar Mbow, Director of the Museum of Contemporary Art. If you recall, it's been a year and 14 days today. That was March the 11th, 2014. That 7 former mayor and the entire council took a stand here to defend the institution, the cultural institution of this city. We've been working ever since both to continue the excellence in programming that MOCA is known for, but also working to diligently put a new board together that will allow us to move forward with the future of the institutions. In your package, you have both the resolution, the MOCA orientation board book for the board, and you also have the list of the board members so far we have been able to put together. The MOCA Boards of Trustees is anticipated to be composed of 30 board members. So we have a way to go, opportunities for you to advise and contribute by assisting us in identifying other outstanding citizens that could help us to move forward the museum. So what we're asking today is for you to see if it is possible to approve this board. After that, we will call for the first board meeting, and we will now send this to the Miami-Dade Cultural Affairs, which is just waiting for a little bit, quite a while now, to receive this. It is not easy to bring citizens by asking them to fulfill some requirements, particularly financial requirements in the amounts described in your in the book. However, we believe that we were able to have over the past 8 months members of this community, Miami-Dade communities that came on board at MOCA, helping us for the past 8 months, and now the board so far, the 18 board members list is for your consideration tonight.
Do we need public hearing? Yeah?
It's a res, yeah.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Anyone who wishes to speak on about the MOCA board? Public hearing is now closed.
Move approval of the board.
Second it.
Mr. Clerk?
Somebody dock his pay tonight. What's going on?
We have a meeting going on, Mr. Clerk. Oh, there's meeting outside too?
Motion to approve tab I was made by Councilman Galvin, and it was seconded by
I did.
Councilwoman Steril. Anyone who wishes to record a no? Item passes 5-0.
Just if you can recall, Mr. Manager, Mr. Babacar, that you have, council can only appoint 2 members each, one of which has to be a North Miami resident. So just make sure that your list reflects that, okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to take just the opportunity to introduce one of our visitors, Dr. Rick Laseka from the Canary Island, one of the kind of foremost European contemporary art writer these days. who is spending some time to visit with us at MOCA. So welcome to North Miami Rock.
Welcome, Doctor.
Mr. Babaka, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The resident member need to meet all the requirement also
Yes.
when it comes to the money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We still are looking forward to the leadership
What is
of
the
the
requirement?
council.
Some of the requirements.
Actually, a board member first and foremost has to have a love for art, being able to support the membership due, which is a $10,000 a month, a year. I'm sorry, but also
Every year.
yeah, every year, which is what we use for our education programs and exhibition. I know that some council members have been coming to the various exhibitions that we're having. So far, we are able to say that the people on the list today have committed to all the obligations that are required for a board member.
They need to put a minimum of $10,000 or they can fundraising that money.
Right. The board members due per year, per fiscal year, is $10,000. Now, in addition to that, the board member may, participate in our fundraising.
Okay,
They are really the financial arm of
That
the
means
museum.
two.
Eh?
It's two.
To what?
$10,000 or raise $10,000.
Right, whichever way that it comes
Okay.
to us.
Okay.
Right,
We just need to get it.
Okay.
Correct. Yes,
Right.
That's correct. The
Okay.
capacity to raise $10,000 or a $10,000 registration fee annually
okay,
to be on the board for MOCA.
Okay.
thank you.
Didn't you also you told me you were going to make a request that the mayor be part of the board as well?
Right, if you look at in the package, this time we have added that the mayor of North Miami, whomever he or she shall be, is a non-voting member of the board, a non-voting member, because we wanted really this time that whatever is happening to MOCA will be known by the council at the highest level. So that is how we proceed. While in the past, it was just a staff from the city. And perhaps that is what had led to the misunderstanding, the lack of information that will not rise up to the council. So this time we really wanted to have the council's concrete participation in the decision-making process, not as a voting member, but knowing full whatever it is that the situation of the museum.
Is it already part of the package that we just voted on, or is it something different that?
So is that
Yeah, it is.
Supplement.
Yeah,
That would
it
be in
is
the
on part.
bylaws.
Yeah, if you look
Part
at
of the
page,
bylaws
You
and
would,
Yes.
you would have to put
That's
it in the
what I-
bylaws.
Oh, I didn't
That's
know
what
that.
I.
it is on the
that's what I-
bylaws of the package I gave you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Babaka.
Thank
Tab-
you.
Tab J, proposed ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Garbage and Trash to include provisions for regulation of littering, unsolicited advertising materials, and maintenance standards for dumpster enclosures, establishing standards for issuance of non-exclusive franchise permits, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab J.
Staff, is there any?
Through the mayor, I'd like to call Major Beige. This is, since the sanitation department is normally handled through the code enforcement division, Major Beige, who is in charge of that, will give a brief presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Mr. Manager. The amended ordinance will be a tool for curtailing and abating violations of city code relating to litter, trash, garbage, and waste hauling. The definitions have been updated to include construction and contractor. We expanded the definition of litter and declared litter a nuisance. By declaring litter a nuisance, it empowers the city employees to rectify the situation in a quick and expedient manner. And it also added a presumption that handbills were placed by the business that posted them up. These are the flyers or the advertisements that you'll see posted on the trees or on light poles, or sometimes if you own a business, somebody will come by and drop a stack of papers at your business. In the past, it was hard to prosecute these cases because the businesses may say, we didn't drop them, we didn't want them posted there, the advertising company did it themselves. This puts a presumption in the ordinance that the company placed them there if certain requirements are met. It also changes the time constraints for removal of illegally dumped or placed trash. In the ordinance, there is different time frames from up to 7 days to 24 hours. We standardize the language across the ordinance to be 24 hours for any type of trash, garbage, or rubble that is placed out on public, private property, alleyways, streets, or anywhere else in the city. It also adds language about recycling, and that only authorized recycling haulers can pick up the recycling to cut down on the scrap metal dealers that come through the city and take the recycling. If there's any other questions, Mr. Manager?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Move approval.
If it's more
Public-
than 24 hours, you're just gonna issue a warning before you issue a ticket, right?
We'll issue a notice of violation,
Okay.
and then once a notice of violation, if they don't comply, then we'll issue the ticket and
Within
the city will
48
pick it
hours,
up.
right?
Correct.
Okay.
Just
I
one
second it.
Can we hear from the public first?
Just one correction.
Can we hear
is-
from the public first? Or you want to make a correction?
Yeah, Major Page says city staff is actually the city code enforcement who actually go out to issue the tickets. So it's city code enforcement personnel.
City staff, they don't work for the city?
No, it's code enforcement personnel. You want to make it clear that
Oh.
they're the ones.
Public hearing
Oh,
is
that's
now
not
open.
anybody.
That means not public.
Public
go
hearing?
out and issue it.
Better hurry, Ms. Brown. I'm gonna close it, Ms. Brown.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Good afternoon. Comedian. Good evening. Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 120 Terrace. I really don't understand what this is all about. I don't know about anybody else. But I think I get the gist of it. But my question is, will there be code compliant officers that will be out there on the weekend to monitor and to give citations when this occur, if someone put out trash on the swells?
Next. Ms. Montgomery?
Good evening, council members, mayor, and staff. Annie Montgomery, 2082 Laurel Lane. I read through this ordinance, and I don't see one word about waterfront. Waterfront means the front. There is not one mention of any ordinance on waterfront. The trash that's put out at people's homes on waterfront, the neglect in some of the homes that is open to the public that use the waterways. So this ordinance doesn't even mention, doesn't even begin to mention the homes that are, and we have a large waterfront community, Keystone Point, Griffin Boulevard, San Souci, and there's not one word about in this ordinance. Somebody should change this. Thank you.
Good evening, Carol Prager. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. I've read through this and I know very well what this is. I live in a neighborhood that suffers from a lack of, and I don't want to say a lack of enforcement, but it lacks something to address the problem that we suffer in the neighborhood in terms of bulk trash. I'm very excited that we're finally addressing that. I want to say that I agree with Judy Brown in terms of the correct personnel to follow through on this. And the only question I have regarding this is, may be specific to my neighborhood. We have landscapers, in the very large buildings, and I see them leave their cuttings and all the yard debris from these buildings out for the city to collect, or they're blowing these leaves all over the place. They're not bagging them. If residents have to bag, if residents have to do the right thing, then the landscapers of these multi-unit buildings, something has to be added to this that addresses a fine to the landscapers. Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed. Members of the dais?
I have a question to our attorney, Madam Attorney. I know that our ordinance addresses waterfront in other ordinances. Do we need specific mention in this particular ordinance on certain of these areas about litter?
Yeah,
on the waterfront?
I was not clear as to where this trash or litter would be with respect to the waterfront homes. So
in
there's
the
no, it's,
backyard.
and so then that would be covered, right? So you don't need, we're not exempting certain types of properties. So all property would be covered, whether it's facing the water, facing a street, facing a store, it's all covered.
Okay.
So I'm not
And-
sure.
And there's something in here also about littering on cars, because that's one of my biggest, I thought I saw it. It's one of my biggest peeves is putting these flyers and cards
Yeah.
on the cars. And
That's covered in the handbills. In the handbills section, it
Yes.
talks about any type of advertisement that's used for promotion of businesses, whether it's placed on cars, trees, any place that you put any type of advertisement would be covered in the handbill
Right.
section.
It's on the third page of the attached ordinance. Not only cars, but one of the problems that we've been having for the past few years is using the clean team to clean up on the I-95 on 125th Street and 135th Street. Every Friday or every Monday when you come in the morning, you see a lot of signs, a lot of stuff stuck onto the pylons for the overpass on 131st, 135th, and 125th. I then assign staff from the clean team and the Public Works Department to go out there and either pressure clean it or to actually take off the trash from some of these. DOT does not respond immediately. So that's one of the things that are addressed in this ordinance as well.
okay, so this is our first reading, so if we feel we need to add a little bit more, tweak it a little, by the next meeting, we can do some
Absolutely,
minor additions.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much for this one.
Also, and Mr. City Manager, those cars without tag and insurance on the
Yeah.
swell, sorry, we need
Code,
to.
right, code is addressing those as well.
Okay. In that ordinance, or you're talking about previous
No,
one?
we have another junk,
Junk
that's
cars and
junk and,
derelict
and,
vehicles.
yeah, derelict vehicles.
Derelict vehicles and junk, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's mean we can tow any cars without tags, without insurance on the swells as of right now.
There's,
Mr.
you still have to go,
Major Beige, yeah?
If there's a derelict vehicle on the city's swale on the public right-of-way, we have to post it with a 48-hour warning notice to give the owner opportunity to remove the car. After 48 hours, we can tow the car if we want to.
Right.
Okay,
There's a time limitation before we could tow it.
okay.
We need a motion. Oh, you wanna?
Sure. Question. On the topic of billboards being placed illegally under I-95, on the topic of people putting out on the weekends, we'll buy your house for whatever, that
Correct.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Can we maybe have the clean team switch some hours and come in on a Saturday morning or a Friday night? And rather than, these are weekend events that are being publicized
Correct.
with the billboards. If they're allowed to stay through the weekend, by the time, we're just doing them a favor by taking their signs down after the event is over
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Monday. Can we maybe get staff to come out and knock them out, or even eyeball them and make an arrest or write a ticket or whatever it might be
Right.
while they're being put up? Just food for thought, to find another way to combat them a little bit more than rather than wait till Monday morning. And on the house with the we'll buy your, the signs that say we'll buy your house for $80,000 or whatever, set up that robocall that a resident had suggested
That's-
to call their number over and over and over and over and over, to
Yeah.
tie up their lines. So-
I know for a fact that the code officers who actually work the weekends, the signs that are portable that they can actually pick up and place in their vehicle or in the trunks, it's been done. Several times, I think Mattress Giant and those other signage that we have along 135th Street, the code officer who is patrolling the area picks up those and put it in their trunks. If it's a larger sign or something that is stuck onto the pylons, then Public Works would have to respond. And I could certainly look into altering schedules to meet that requirement.
That's all the questions I have.
All right, we need a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Councilwoman Steril. For the record, she has seconded every motion so far. Jorge Steril. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys.
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme.
Yes.
Councilwoman Steril. Mayor Joseph.
Yeah.
Item passes 5-0. Tab K. Proposed ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Animal Control by amending section 4-3 entitled Definitions and by creating section 4-18 entitled Restrictions on Retail Pet Sales and Pet Meals to include regulations restricting retail pet sales and pet meals, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date.
We have we have staff presentation.
No, open public hearing then after.
Oh.
Public hearing? Or, okay, I'll take it.
You want me to? Okay.
You want to take it?
No?
All right. So this is an ordinance that will curtail the sale of certain types of puppies that come from other than animal shelters and the like. So that puppies that come from commercial sellers or puppy mills will be restricted or prevented from selling in any city pet store, puppies and cats. That's essentially what this will do. Why? Because there is a societal interest to prevent puppies that come from puppy mills who are abused or malnourished or have diseases that come into these stores and are sold to constituents and residents and so forth, and they don't necessarily have the guarantee that they are actually healthy pets, and you want to encourage pets that are already on the market, that are already in animal shelters to be adopted, rather than going through commercial vendors whose sole purpose is to create a market by farming animals.
So that's only for the pet stores?
That's for
Yeah.
pet stores.
What about the people who actually breed them at home and sell them to people
So
directly?
there are exceptions for what is called a hobby breeder, and that is a person or entity.
Hobby?
Hobby, H-O-B-B.
They sell them. It's not a hobby if you sell them.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are certain exceptions.
A lucrative hobby.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be a lucrative hobby.
And especially in the city, we.
Yeah.
Occasional litter, if you raise
Oh.
your own dogs and you keep a couple and you sell the rest. You can't keep all 12 puppies every time you want to have a litter.
Oh.
That would be a hobby.
That would be a hobby. Okay.
Yeah.
Lucrative hobby.
It's just one thing that, just to reiterate something that Regine said, that puppy mills are breeding factories that produce purebred puppies in large numbers. These puppies are sold in public via internet, newspaper ads, and through brokers and pet shops. These dogs and cats or puppy mills are frequently overbred or inbred. And that's one of the problems you ask, what happens? Overbreeding and inbreeding. And they have poor veterinary care, low quality food, shelters, and little social skills with socialization with humans. They live in overcrowded cages, and unwanted animals are killed or euthanized.
And especially in the city, we
And
have so
that's
many cats
right.
and dogs.
That's why we are
on
not
the street
encouraging
that
it.
need
Correct.
that need a house. That means it's better for people who love cats, who love dogs, to find a shelter or another animal society or the organization that have so many of those pets that looking for a home to live.
Ms. Prager?
You have it up in public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
She's right there.
Oh.
Ms. Prager is right there.
Thank
She
you.
She was waiting for you.
Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. These places are just cruel. It's cruelty to animals. There are lots of animals in shelters that should be adopted, that are healthy animals that need homes. Our shelters are overcrowded right now. If you please support this, because if you shut down this avenue for them to use to sell these animals, then this practice has no way of thriving. So I really do hope that you vote on this in a positive way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Don Anthony, Communications Director for the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida. We've got 5,000 members around the state, and we're based in Fort Lauderdale here in Broward County. Mayor, council members, thank you very much for taking on the important issue of commercially bred, mass-produced animals for sale at puppy stores and pet stores. Well over 30 cities around South Florida have passed these ordinances. Well over 60 around the country have passed these ordinances too, because they protect the public, they protect consumers, taxpayers, and the animals as well. This is one of the few issues where South Florida is leading the country and leading the country in something good. Pet shops get their animals from commercial breeding facilities known as puppy mills. That's the source, close to 100% of the time. Female dogs live their entire lives packed in cages. They are filthy, they're neglected, disease runs rampant. They're continuously inbred until they're no longer profitable, and then they're killed. If you've never seen what a puppy mill looks like, I urge you to Google puppy mills, and you will see animals packed in cages. These dogs are so neglected that you will see them packed in cages, and you won't even be able to recognize what kind of a dog they are sometimes because they look so bad in those cages. A ban on commercially bred animals will help end this. It'll protect unwitting consumers who buy a dog and find out months later that he needs thousands of dollars in vet bills because of all the inbreeding. It will also protect taxpayers who end up paying for these animals with sky-high vet bills when people give them up and dump them at shelters. And then we all wind up paying for their food and shelter and for killing them. Now, the stores can sell vet services, which is a lucrative standalone business in itself. They can do animal grooming, doggy daycare. They can sell food and toys and supplies. This is how PetSmart and Pet Supermarket make millions. They do not ever sell commercially bred dogs and cats. They do display animals from shelters, adoptable animals from shelters. They can always sell directly to the public. Does that mean my time is up? Okay. Well, I hope that you'll do what so many other cities have done and pass this ordinance unanimously to protect animals and taxpayers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Martin Leon. I'm with the Florida Pet Dealers Association. I oppose this proposed law and wish to inform you that the controls are in place right now with the U.S. Department of Agriculture with the Animal Welfare Act. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is checking all of the breeders. They have to be bred by USDA breeders. The state of Florida also requires that every puppy sold inside of the state of Florida have a health certificate that has been checked by a licensed veterinarian within the last 30 days, that the puppy has all its vaccinations and deworming up to date. In addition to that, the Dade County Animal Control has also controls where they, since December of this last year, requires a source information to be placed next to where the puppy is being sold, and it can only be from a USDA breeder, and it also has to have a microchip. The information this other gentleman gave is completely false. At one time, that was the case. But if they check USDA and check the stores that we have in South Florida, and they're more than welcome to come in to the stores that we have. I represent roughly 25 stores and veterinarians right now in South Florida. That information is totally incorrect. We stand ready if anybody wants to contact me to open our stores so they can see them. None of them are here in North Miami. You can see how clean they are, how well kept those puppies are, and how those puppies are given every day time to walk and exercise. In addition to that, the American Kennel Club also requires that all of the, thank you. Have a good day.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. As a rescuer on the streets of North Miami, Paula Ravani, 250 180th Drive, Sunny Isles. As a rescuer on the streets here of North Miami and throughout the county, I cannot tell you how many neglected and homeless dogs I find running with nowhere to go. These dogs are often abandoned, hungry, and most need medical attention. This requires a steady stream of monetary donations, which isn't easy to do. We simply cannot find homes for them all, and many end up in our county shelter with dire consequences. Any measures that you, as elected officials, can take to stop this will offer some hope in an often desperate and depressing efforts. It seems that every time we pick up one dog off the streets, there's two following. This law says that North Miami supports animal rescue efforts and want to achieve a no-kill community. I want to thank you all for taking this proactive step, and will encourage people to stop shopping and start adopting. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ivan Ochoa. I represent two sectors. First, a consumer, and second, as somebody who worries about these kind of legislation or ordinance to business. If you're concerned about meals, then don't buy chicken at Publix or Winn-Dixie. The USDA cites chicken production as the most abusive and horrific process, and we eat chicken. Even organic chicken is provided. If you want concern about killing animals, go to Arkansas and see chicken production, where I saw personally thousands of chicken because they didn't have room in the cages in the area be drowned. And also look at the space they have. But this is good. I'm concerned about adoption. I'm concerned about animals. I'm concerned of your concerns. This is not the way to do it. Don't tell me my daughter, who wants a purebred Cocker Spaniel, cannot go into a pet store where they give me a certificate by Florida law from a veterinarian of good health, where they give me a 1-year warranty, where I can play with various pure breeds, which I want her to have, okay? And I have rescue dogs. You could come to my house. I have 7 dogs, and I balance them, and I hope everybody does that. But don't tell me I can't take my daughter to a pet store to have that dream, that experience. That is un-American. That's not right. You go after the puppy mills. Note that the Humane Society, and I know this is a good, I am concerned about puppy mills. None of their recent reports are used by the changes that USDA made. The facts of the 100 worst and the 101 did not include any mills in Florida because of the Florida legislation. And none of the reports, look at the facts, 2 million to 4 million. Is it 4? I don't know. I hope you don't vote for this.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't. No, I know. Mr. Ochoa didn't state his home address for the record, so I just wanted to make sure we got that on there.
You can have it. My home address, I have a home in Coral Gables. I have an apartment in Miami Beach and one in Edgewater, which I'm residing now while I retire. I do not reside in the city. I am a consumer, and I'm concerned for these kind of business laws. I own my own business, which is in Doral. Okay.
It's just give us one of the addresses. Your name and one of the addresses.
Okay, 500 Villa Bella Avenue, Coral Gables, Florida. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for hearing this legislation. My name is Kelly Reed, and I'm on the council in Bay Harbor Islands, 9665 Bay Harbor Terrace. I'm not here tonight at the behest of my council. I'm here on my own because when I learned of this movement, I became very passionate about it, and I've traveled to many cities to support it. We passed a similar ordinance banning the sale of dogs and cats last year in Bay Harbor Islands. At the time, we didn't have a store. At one time, we did have a small puppy store, and I spoke to several residents who were passing by and kind of impulsively picked up a puppy because they were on display there. And when I learned of the cruelty in the mills, even the ones that were considered more humane, I realized that it really wasn't necessary. If somebody would like to have a pure breed dog, like you said, there are hobby breeders, it's better that they go to the home or the farm or the small business and they can see for themselves. It's like adopting a child. You like to know where they're from. I'm not sure where all this regulation stands right now. I've heard both sides, and it's worth looking into. But I can definitely tell you that as a person who's always adopted animals, the shelter in North Miami Beach is a no-kill shelter, so when it fills up, you can't even surrender your animals there. And I think, we're all aware that at this moment, the county, unfortunately has to kill animals. And we brought Commissioner Hayman's mobile spay and neuter van to our city a few weekends ago. And, with the dogs and the cats, they need to be spayed and neutered. It's really sad to see them homeless, without care, without proper nutrition. And, I love going to the shelter with someone who's going to adopt a pet. There's no more loyal a pet than one that you rescue from behind one of those cages. So I humbly ask you to consider passing this tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. My experience is that there was a puppy mill for German Shepherds down the street from me, and I actually had to be in the middle of the intersection of Griffin and 125th rescuing puppies, German Shepherd puppies that got out into the intersection, had the police there. It wasn't good. There's actually some guy that sells puppies like a couple of doors up the street on 125th and holds them in the air by the neck, selling puppies in traffic. So I think we do have an issue with that in North Miami. And when I got my dog, I researched him for 2 years, and actually I saw a puppy mill, and chicken factories are really frightening places, and puppy mills are very frightening things and really sad. And I think that we all need to think about where our food comes from. And I think a lot of people have kind of lost their spiritual connection with the earth. And I think it's something we all need to think about. And just because disgusting things are done to chickens in Arkansas, it doesn't mean it's okay to do disgusting things to puppies in Miami. Thank you.
I'm Dr. James B. Tracton of 12700 North Bay Shore Drive. I think this ordinance has to be approved because there are too many angles to get around it if you don't have an ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Allison Scotty, 803.
You can lower the mic.
Better?
Yeah, there you go.
Northeast 91st Terrace, and I also support a ban on the commercial sale of dogs and cats in pet stores. We opened this meeting asking for divine guidance on making the moral decisions, on making decisions that will continue to make the city of North Miami a progressive city. Now, we've already discussed the suffering that surrounds the sale of dogs and cats in stores, as we know that the places they come from are horrific places where there's a lot of suffering of the pets that are mostly imported from outside of the state of Florida and brought in here where we already have an overpopulation problem. There's suffering of the owners who buy these sick animals. And then there's also financial suffering too on the part of every single Miami-Dade County taxpayer, everybody in this room, presumably, because we have to pay for Miami-Dade Animal Services to then care for and sadly euthanize often these pets when they're dumped in the shelter, dumped in the street, or sometimes, as it was noted, perhaps purchased from these stores and used for illicit breeding activities, as the gentleman noted as well, where they're sold then on street courses in violation of both County Code of Ordinances and the state of Florida laws. So I would suggest that when people say that perhaps this ban would hurt business, I would ask them to look at all of these pet stores who have become what are called humane pet stores and how they are indeed doing a thriving business promoting adoption and then selling things like food, leashes, etc. This is a very good business model. There's a reason why this is happening throughout the country, and I think the city of North Miami, being the progressive city that it is, should also step forward and make this decision to ban the sale of cats and dogs in stores. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you very much for hearing this option before you tonight. My name is Stephanie DeThomas. I live at 3205 Northeast 184th Street in Aventura, but I'm the founder of the Sky Miami Foundation. We are a foundation that pays for special needs surgeries, and most of those dogs are from puppy mills right here in Dade County. You talk about pure breed dogs. Statistics are 35% of pure breed dogs can be found in shelters. Last year, Animal Services had to euthanize 30,000 dogs in just Miami-Dade County. That doesn't include Broward, doesn't include Palm Beach, just Miami-Dade County. So I really recommend that you pass this legislation, and I appreciate your time having it come before your city.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, each and everyone up there. And I greet you all in the precious name of Jesus Christ with shalom, shalom, shalom. I'm very pleased tonight to see there is peace in the house. Peace, peace, peace. Perfect peace. Not a problem. Praise the Lord. So I'm giving thanks and praise that tonight all is well, that ends well. And may the Lord continue to bless you all. And I said good night. In Jesus' name, amen. Shalom.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the young lady didn't mention her name nor address for the record.
My name is Maria Lee. I live at 12525 Northeast First Court, North Miami, going 40, 50 years. Amen. Greeting again. Bye.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Flynn. I live at 746 Northeast 90th Street in Miami. And not only am I an animal advocate, but most of all, I'd like to think of myself as a human advocate, and in this case, a consumer rights advocate. People go into these stores, they see a cute puppy, they have no idea that that cute puppy came from a terrible place, and they're going to pay $2,500 to $5,000 for the same purebred dog that's sitting in Miami-Dade Animal Services they could get for $65. That comes with vetting, that comes with the microchip, that comes fixed, which, by the way, they do not come fixed at these pet stores. Or you can actually choose to go to a legitimate breeder. You can go to a breed-specific rescue. So if you want a purebred dog, you don't have to be ripped off for $5,000 and then have to pay a vet bill. And most of all, the heartache and the heartbreak when that dog is sick and doesn't make it. People cannot afford to pay that. And it's not fair to people to sell them a dog that they don't know. That a piece of paper doesn't mean that dog's parents were safe. If you want to go to Miami-Dade Animal Services on a Wednesday, it's half price. You could get that same purebred dog for $35. You could pick and choose at a breed-specific rescue. So people need to know that buying in a pet store, I mean, if you really want to spend that kind of money, that's your choice. But when there's animals that are suffering, it doesn't make sense for consumers to ultimately pay the price. Thank you. So please consider passing this ban tonight.
Good evening. Excuse me. I am Commissioner Michelle Lazaro from Hallandale Beach, and I want to thank Councilman Felipe Bienami, I hope I'm saying it right, for bringing this ordinance forward and for your support tonight. I bought a dog in a pet store in Hollywood in 2004. He was $900 on sale, and he was sick his whole life. He cost me medicine and heartbreak, and finally he died last year. But I was lucky because I could afford the medicine and I could afford the many years of surgeries and bills that I had to incur. This is a heartbreak for anybody that has to go through it, and especially anybody who buys their first puppy for their little girl or little boy and has to watch that puppy die in their hands and suffer a horrible death. USDA is nothing more than a fancy term for a puppy mill. USDA inspects 1% of the food that you eat. So you can imagine how few of the 10,000 licensed puppy mills there are in this country that are being inspected. They come maybe once a year or every 18 months. In order to be shut down, you have to have multiple dead dogs in your kennels. And some of these kennels have up to 1,000 dogs on their property, 1,000. anybody with doing good quality control could tell you that that is not possible to maintain a farm of that size. It's an industry that's steeped in consumer fraud. We have 3 minutes wherever I go, so I'm not used to it. It's an industry that's steeped in consumer fraud, and you don't have any stores in North Miami, so this is the time to pass it before anybody else is affected. Your neighboring cities all around you in Dade County all have bans. If you do not pass this ban, you're going to be keys to the kingdom. Every pet store selling puppies is going to come to North Miami because for miles and miles around you, there will be no sales of any dogs. You have a pet store. It's called Miami-Dade Animal Services. Please support this ordinance as written. Thank you.
Evan Ross, 1941 South Oak Haven Circle. For starters, there was some talk about consumer protection, and the USDA was mentioned. Governments take steps all the time to protect consumers. Governments have taken steps, for example, to ban synthetic drugs from being sold in gas station convenience stores in order to protect consumers. You just heard from Commissioner Lazaro about how she should have been protected with a ban like this so that she didn't take home a sick dog. Banning these types of sales protects your residents. As you've seen, you don't have any stores in North Miami that sell these dogs currently. You do have stores that sell pet supplies. For example, right near your office, Mr. Mayor, you have Mary's Pound. Wonderful store. My dad comes all the way from Aventura to buy dog food there. They thrive in this city without selling these kinds of dogs. You don't need these kinds of sales in your city. Supply and demand, fairly simple comment. North Miami cannot put an end to puppy mills completely, but you can take a step in the right direction and tell these abusive breeders that North Miami is no longer on their map. Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed. Members of the dais.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance.
No discussion?
Go ahead.
All right, so I have a motion by Vice Mayor Keys to approve this item. It was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. It's an ordinance, so I need a roll call vote. Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Galvin,
On behalf of my 4 adopted babies, yes.
Vice Mayor Keys,
On behalf of my new rescue puppy, yes.
Councilman Bieneme,
Yes.
Councilwoman Steriel.
On behalf of my colleagues, yes.
Tab K was approved 5-0 unanimously. And that's, before we get to the quasi-judicial,
We don't have any.
before we get to the Citizens Forum, there's some appointments I have to get done right now. It was submitted well in advance, so I'm just going to read it out loud. Mayor Joseph would like to appoint Pastor Joanne Floril to the Advisory Committee on the Disabled. Mayor Joseph would like to appoint Joseph Bouleville to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Mayor Joseph would like to appoint Fundy Pierre Michel, West Dixie Corridor, to the Business Development Board, again, West Dixie Corridor. And Councilman Bieneme would like to appoint Christopher Boykin, Parks and Recs Committee. May I have a motion to approve the appointments?
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Keys. It was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. Anyone who wishes to record a no, item passes 5-0. Thank you. All right.
The Citizens Forum is now open.
Guess I better run. Judy Brown, Northwest, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace. The only question that I have is, in the report on the parks that Councilwoman Cyril had asked, I didn't hear anything about
Good
Pepper.
Mr. City, well, I'm sure that he will respond.
Excuse me?
The city manager will respond after the citizens forum during his report.
During his report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you hear the city manager?
About Pepper Park, the walk.
Yeah.
Citizens Forum is now closed. Council reports. Council reports. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Councilman Mayor for his motion on the pets. My last 2 dogs have been from shelters, so I'm very happy with them. I just wanted to mention that the consultant that we had over here on the water issue, they didn't ask for his name. I don't know what his name is, but anyway, I'm in favor of reducing the water bill. Okay, so now I want to raise up the issue of the cameras at the traffic lights. Okay, I was just heard today in the radio that 2 judges in Broward County had eliminated $24,000 in fines that had been issued to people with concerning the traffic lights. You know, it's a bad idea. Broward, Fort Lauderdale has rejected the cameras, has taken them out. Hialeah has done the same thing. You know, there's statistics that the small accidents have increased when people arrive at the traffic lights and the lights are changing and people just brake and then somebody behind them hits them. So I think it's a bad idea, and the chief of police was supposed to give us a report on some I don't know, some study I was going to make. The city manager had mentioned that you know, that he was waiting for the chief of police report, and it was supposed to have been resolved in January, and nothing has happened. So you know, that is an open item.
Mr. Mayor, the gentleman didn't state his name and address
Oh, I'm
for the
sorry.
record.
My name is Jose Areces. I live at 410 Northeast, 132nd Terrace for the last 39 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizens Forum is closed. Thank you for keeping the name and giving up with the names and addresses. Council reports? Who wants to go first? Do you want to go
I'll
first?
go?
Go ahead.
First of all, let's see, North Miami Chamber of Commerce is having.
You want to, what did you want to do? Did we have an addition about the
I
discussion?
believe you wanted a discussion item that you asked, you requested at the beginning.
Oh,
Unless
yes.
you want to present it as part of your.
Yes, let me do it now. Yes, because we had like 2 or 3 meetings ago, I believe, we discussed the ATS issue. Since the gentleman just alluded to it, it's probably more relevant to discuss it now. And I know the chief was supposed to go and make some research about the neighboring cities that have, done away with the traffic lights, and come back with us with some data that will help us move forward with this issue. That way we can answer the questions that the gentleman has.
Thank you, Mayor. The last time this was brought up was January the 13th, 2015 was the council report. And at that time and moment, there was a consideration to execute a contract for the traffic safety camera program for a 3-year renewal period. We had some dialogue going back and forth, and what we truly wanted to do was try to get some accurate facts, because there was discussion if we were to remove the cameras from these intersections, exactly what type of impact it was made. There was different theories and different perceptions from different cities. And what we agreed was try to decide 4 municipalities nearby and make a determination that those 4, since they got their cameras removed, what was the impact? Those 4 cities was Pembroke Pines. They deactivated their cameras in June of 2013. And during prior to this deactivation of the red light camera, there were 7 crashes at the red light camera intersections. During the years subsequent to the deactivation of the red light camera, there was 1 crash at this red light camera intersection. So that was one of the 4 nearby municipalities that deactivated the red light camera. The other 3 cities was Hialeah. Hialeah has not returned their information to us as of yet. We make the recommendations. It was ideal, and what we proposed was try to get at least 6 months of comparison to the prior 6 months, so it wouldn't be a residual effect. We felt it was pretty safe to go wait 6 months because we know you could remove a camera from an intersection, and within a month or two, people will still feel the camera is there, so it's not a true indication to reflect the accuracy. We felt that 6 months a comparison would be very ideal. In this case here, the Hialeah has not returned that request for us to get a comparison. Hollandale was the other one. They deactivated their red light camera in December 2014, which is nearly about 3 months ago. There has not been a significant amount of time to gather their information as well. Ideally, once again, we're looking for a 6-month comparison. The other one was El Portal, and it was unique about El Portal because they only had about 1 camera, or actually it was 2, my understanding, and they pretty much pulled away because of financial reasons. It wasn't generating as well the issue at hand for them in El Portal. So that issue was brought up between El Portal. I end on this note simply meaning that our focus is just these intersections in the sense of the reducing fatalities as well as traffic crashes. What we did, though, nevertheless, for tonight, we went ahead and found some other information that was out there about other, but they're not as local ones. I'll share that for it to be considered or not. In Virginia Beach, Virginia, accidents increased from 3.1% to 11.3%. That was a month after the cameras were removed. We also looked up some data where Garland, Texas, total intersection crashes increased about 64%, and crashes at red light intersections were over 3 times as frequent. The most recent here closer to be Collier County, right here in Florida. The collisions increased by an average of 10 more a month after the cameras were removed. So I think ideally, if there was a option that should be considered, I think we should probably wait to get a more accurate account for some of the cities that are here local nearby us for that 6-month comparison. But that is what we have at this point in the moment with the update.
No, you don't.
So,
I don't mind responding if that's okay. He mentioned something about the Fort Lauderdale camera, because I noticed some legalities and stuff like that. If there is something issues, I would refer
That's the question
to.
I was going to ask Madam Attorney to opine on.
That's why I said hold on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The last decision that was made by the
Yes, so what happened was the city of Hollywood has a red light camera like most other cities in the state. City of Hollywood, that's
Yeah,
that's the case.
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale
The one that
case.
we move it.
The one that suspended the
one
program.
that suspended
Oh,
last
yeah,
week.
so
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale suspended their program as a result of recent lawsuits that have been populating across the state, and the one in particular that was in Hollywood. So Hollywood, in that case, there was a gentleman that had a red light ticket. He appealed, and the county court said that it should be dismissed because the processes that are used by the city violate the law, in that a city should not outsource that type of work to a vendor. It should be done by the law enforcement agency in terms of reviewing the citations and then issuing the citations. So that went up to the 4th District Court of Appeal, and the 4th District Court of Appeal agreed with the county court and said, yes, that sort of work should not be outsourced to an outside agency. It should be the municipality or the agency that reviews the violations and then issues the citations. That case is currently up before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has not yet accepted jurisdiction, and so as a result of that, I haven't spoken directly to the folks at Fort Lauderdale, but I surmise as a result of that, they suspended their program.
They have suspended their program. So what, as a caution, what would your recommendation be?
So, the 4th DCA was pretty clear, and the 4th DCA didn't say the statute is illegal. It just said that the process should be changed. What that means is that rather than sending rather than ATS reviewing all of the potential violations and then issuing what they believe are citations to the city, and then the city would then issue the citation, we would take all of the raw data and make the review ourselves and then issue the citation. So that should not be delegated to
a vendor. It should be in-house.
Yeah, so as a result, the city of Fort Lauderdale suspended their program indefinitely, right?
Correct, correct.
Now-
Them and other cities have well, as a
No, I mean
result of
last
the
week.
different.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the most recent? Now, as a result, I did ask you, city manager, to try to contact administration in Fort Lauderdale to try to get some information as to how they're going to move forward or what other criteria did they use to take such a drastic decision because of the judge's.
Okay. I did.
Did you talk to anyone from?
I did speak to the city manager of Fort Lauderdale after he came out with after he suspended the program. Well, there are two things not here to talk about Fort Lauderdale, but the program in Fort Lauderdale was actually losing funding. And the second concern they had was, so there was a budgetary impact on their budget as well, because the program was losing money. The second thing he alluded to was the Circuit Court decision and also what happened in Hollywood. With the additional staffing that is required to actually do the citations rather than a private company doing it, that's going to be an additional burden on their budget. So what he did, he actually made a decision to suspend the program, until further discussions or further ruling comes down from the appeals court.
Without his counsel? Or
Yeah, that's right.
With his counsel?
I believe he consulted with his counsel as well.
Okay. So how many months did we give it ATS again? Did we give him a certain amount of months before we come back?
Presently, in January, the council voted on a month-to-month to continue their contract. Until the chief of police came back with the study on his reports on whether it's the safety issues are of concerns or whether removing the cameras completely. Another component of it is the state contribution. Any ticket that is paid, there's a portion of it that goes to the state. Presently, we don't know whether or not that is reconcilable or whether we can get it back if the program is suspended. In discussions with Fort Lauderdale, that's one of the reasons that they made a decision in moving forward.
Okay.